You know, not everything that merely alludes to another culture is racist or cultural appropriation. Really. And finally, new rule, white liberals have to start listening to me when I tell them you can't be more offended than the victim. And finally, new rule, if the Democrats are going to continue to debate stuff that happened in the 1970s, they have to dress in 70s clothing. If we're going to talk about busing, do it right. Even though nobody under 55 knows what you're talking about, you may as well be debating denture cream. But this is the new trick in Democratic politics. Dig up something your opponent said decades ago that looks bad by today's standards and pretend that that's a mic drop evidence of your awesome moral superiority. Kirsten Gillibrand tried to pull some of that woke liberal time machine bullshit on Biden, calling out something he wrote 38 years ago about women working outside the home. For more details, visit the National Archives. But I would defend capitalism. I feel like there's a flirtation now on the left because people don't read history. They don't know what happened before. They just live by slogans. And they don't understand communism. We tried it. It wasn't that long ago, just too long ago, if you have that idea in your head, well, I wasn't alive for it, so I shouldn't know about it. Well, maybe you should, because we did try it. And I would say communism is worse than crony capitalism. Even crony capitalism better than communism. But, you know, I used to do a show called Politically Incorrect back in the 90s, and, oh, thank you. Oh, the 90s, we remember them. And so I was always asked, what is your definition of political correctness? And I had to come up with one. I said, it's the elevation of sensitivity over truth, which seems like what it still is, except it's worse than ever. Let's ask Ruben Gallego. He's a congressman from Arizona, and he was asked how his Democrats could do a better job connecting to Latinos. He said, first, start by not using the term Latinx, which the vast majority of Latinos have never heard of, and when they do, don't like it. Who likes it? Pandering white politicians who mistake Twitter for real people and don't get it that Latinx is like fetch. You can try to make it happen, but it's never gonna. She was urging members not to talk about defunding the police. James Clyburn agreed. Defund the police is killing our party, he said. Pennsylvania Democrat Connor Lamb says Democratic rhetoric needs to be dialed back. It needs to be rooted in common sense. Thank you. Thank you. There, in my opinion, is the crux of the problem. Democrats too often don't come across as having common sense to a huge swath of Americans. And these are people who believe in QAnon. They're the party that disappears people or tries to make them apologize for ridiculous things. Anne Hathaway apologized last week because in her new movie she plays a witch, a fictional character that has 3 claw-like fingers, and that's offensive to people with limb differences. Hey. Last year I read about how NBC held an emergency meeting to determine if Mario Lopez should be fired from his job at Access Hollywood. I thought, holy shit, did he sexually assault somebody? No, he went on a podcast, and when the host brought up the trend of liberal parents letting toddlers pick their gender identity, he said, my God, if you're 3 years old and you're saying you think you're a boy or a girl, I just think it's dangerous as a parent to make that determination. Cue the groveling apology, followed by America saying, yeah, I think Mario's right. It would be so easy to win elections if we would just drop this shit. Democrats need to listen to our new president-elect's old boss.
This idea of purity and you're never compromised and you're always politically woke and all that stuff, you should get over that quickly.
Quickly, like before they vote in Georgia. And speaking of the Supreme Court, which used to stay supremely out of partisan bickering, it's why Ruth Bader Ginsburg, yes, even sweet, scholarly, grandmotherly Ruth Bader Ginsburg, talked trash about Trump this year like she was in a rap battle. Oh, that man can bring out the worst in anyone. But I have to tell you, Donald Trump didn't create this swamp. He just rose from it. He and Hillary are the first two candidates in memory not to call and congratulate each other after they won their respective races. Forever, that is what people did. Even Al Gore called George W. Bush after he lost. And he didn't even lose. In the Senate, members used to refer to each other as my friend from the other side of the aisle. They didn't mean it literally, of course. No one actually thinks of Ted Cruz as a friend. Did it break down when we decided it was okay to say that the president was a Kenyan spy baby?